Admiral Chang-wook stood on the command deck of the UES Seoul, watching dozens of human ships prepare for battle. Each vessel burned with nuclear fire, their hulls glowing like miniature stars. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. "Admiral," said Communications Officer Lee Min-ho. "All ships report ready for combat." Chang-wook nodded. This was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 400 ships, all modified to burn with fusion fire. They called themselves the Terran Flame Fleet. "Any word from the Galactic Council?" he asked. "Yes, sir. They are grateful for our help, but they still do not understand why our ships need to be on fire." Chang-wook almost laughed. The aliens still thought fire was primitive, even after seeing it drive away the burning ones. Some attitudes never changed. The fleet was heading toward the Centauri Junction, a major crossroads where trade routes from 12 different systems met. If the burning ones took control there, they could spread out and attack civilized space from all directions. Captain Mi-young commanded the lead ship, the UES Bulgogi, which had become famous throughout the galaxy. Her crew had more experience fighting the dark entities than anyone else. "Captain Mi-young," Chang-wook called over the fleet channel, "what do your sensors show?" 17 burning ones approaching the junction from 3 directions, she replied. "They are bigger than the ones we fought before." "How much bigger?" "Some are the size of moons, Admiral, and they are moving together like they have a plan." That was bad news. The burning ones were learning. Each battle made them smarter and more organized. "All ships prepare for combat," Chang-wook ordered. "Remember, stay close together. Do not let them separate us." The Terran Flame Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri Junction. What they saw made even experienced spacefighters pause. The burning ones had already reached the junction. They were not just eating the space stations and ships there. They were building something. Dark structures grew from the consumed matter, creating what looked like a massive web across space. "Admiral," said Science Officer Dr. Nam-soo, "they are creating a permanent base. If they finish this, they can launch attacks in all directions at once. How long until it is complete?" "Maybe 6 hours." Chang-wook made his decision. "All ships, attack formation. We stop them here." The human fleet flew toward the dark web, their burning hulls leaving trails of fire through space. The burning ones noticed them coming and responded immediately. Captain Mi-young was the first to engage. She flew the UES Bulgogi directly through a cluster of smaller entities. Where her ship's fire touched them, they screamed in frequencies that hurt to hear. "Direct hit," she reported, "but there are so many of them." Commander Woo-bin, flying the UES Kimchi-2, had an idea. "Admiral, what if we coordinate our attacks? If several burning ships hit the same target at once?" "Do it," Chang-wook ordered. 5 human ships formed up and attacked one of the moon-sized burning ones together. Their combined nuclear fire was devastating. The dark entity began to dissolve, its matter breaking apart and drifting away. "It worked," shouted Captain Jung-ho from the UES Taekwondo. "The big ones can be killed if we hit them hard enough, but the victory came at a cost." 3 more burning ones surrounded the attacking ships. Captain Park Woo-bin found his ship trapped between 2 of the dark entities. "Admiral, I am cut off," he reported. "They are closing in." Woo-bin made a decision that would be remembered forever. Instead of trying to escape, he overloaded all his ship's reactors at once. "For Earth," he said over the fleet channel. "For the galaxy." The UES Kimchi-2 exploded like a small star. The nuclear fire from its destruction consumed both burning ones that had trapped it. The blast was so bright that ships on the other side of the battle could see it. "Woo-bin," Mi-young screamed over the radio, but there was no answer. The Kimchi-2 and her crew were gone, taking 2 major enemies with them. The sacrifice inspired the rest of the fleet. Captain Jinwoo, flying the UES Gangnam, led a group of ships in a desperate charge at the dark web's center. "If we can destroy their construction, maybe they will retreat," he said. The charge was successful. Human ships burning with nuclear fire smashed through the dark structures, melting them faster than the burning ones could rebuild. But the battle was far from over. The larger entities began changing tactics. Instead of trying to eat the human ships, they started working together to isolate them. Lieutenant Yoon Seo, the young science officer on Admiral Chang-wook's ship, made an important discovery. "Admiral, I am detecting communication signals between the big ones and the small ones. They have a command structure." "What do you mean?" "The little ones cannot think for themselves. The big ones control them through some kind of biotechnological link." Chang Wook understood immediately. If we can break those links, the small ones will lose coordination and become easy targets. Yunseo worked quickly to map the communication patterns. Admiral, our fire can disrupt their signals. If we target the right spots on the big ones, we can cut their control over the smaller entities. All ships, Chang Wook broadcast, target the bright spots on the large entities. Yunseo is sending you the coordinates. The human fleet changed tactics. Instead of trying to destroy the big burning ones, they focused on the communication nodes that Yunseo had identified. The strategy worked. When the communication links were severed, groups of smaller burning ones stopped working together. They became confused and started running into each other. Captain Li Haiyan-Wu used this confusion to his advantage. All ships in Group 3 form up on me. We are going to punch through their disorganized forces. The human ships flew in tight formation, their combined fire burning through the scattered smaller entities. For the first time since the battle began, they were winning. But the largest burning one, something the size of a small planet, was not controlled by the others. It moved toward the human fleet with obvious intelligence and purpose. Admiral, said Dr. Namsu, that thing is different. It is not just bigger, it is smarter. How smart? It is learning from our attacks. Every time we hit it with fire, it adapts. Chang Wook watched as the massive entity began to change shape. Parts of it grew armor-like surfaces that seemed to reflect plasma fire back at the human ships. It is figuring out how to fight us, he said grimly. Captain Mi Young made another dangerous decision. Admiral, I'm going to ram it.
If I overload my reactors at the moment of impact? No, Chang Wook ordered.
We have lost enough good people today. Then what do we do? Our regular fire is not working anymore. Lieutenant Yunseo spoke up again. Admiral, what if we do not try to destroy it? What if we just make it hurt enough to retreat? How? Coordinate all remaining ships. Hit it at the same moment with everything we have. Do not try to penetrate its armor. Just make it so painful that it does not want to fight anymore. Chang Wook looked around his bridge at the tired faces of his crew. They had been fighting for hours. Many good ships and crews were already lost. All ships, he said, form up for final attack. We hit the big one together, then we get out of here. The remaining human ships gathered around Admiral Chang Wook's flagship. There were only about 200 left, but they all burned with the fury of stars. On my mark, Chang Wook said. All ships, maximum fire. The combined nuclear flame of 200 human ships struck the massive burning one at the same instant. The dark entity convulsed like it was in agony. For a moment it seemed like it might dissolve completely. Instead, it began to retreat. The massive creature pulled back toward the edge of space, and all the remaining smaller entities followed it. They are running, said Captain Mi Young in amazement. Confirmed, added Captain Jinwoo. All hostile contacts are leaving the area. Admiral Chang Wook slumped in his chair with relief. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. Nearly half the human fleet was destroyed or damaged. Admiral, said Lieutenant Yunseo quietly, I am picking up signals from the retreating entities. What kind of signals? They are calling for reinforcements. Much larger reinforcements. Chang Wook felt his heart sink. This battle was just the beginning. The burning ones were not giving up. They were preparing for an even bigger fight. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Tell them we won this battle, but the war is just starting. And tell them we are going to need every ship humanity can build. As the Terran flame fleet limped back toward friendly space, their hulls still burning with nuclear fire, the galaxy began to understand something important. The humans were not just another primitive species anymore. They were the flame bearers, the only ones who could fight the darkness. And they were willing to die to protect everyone else. The galaxy had stopped laughing at human ships. Now they were praying for them. Admiral Bora stood in the war room deep inside Earth's military headquarters. The holographic display showed the galaxy, and it was mostly dark. Red dots marked where entire star systems had vanished. The line of destruction was moving steadily toward the center of the galaxy, where most civilizations lived. How many systems have we lost? She asked General Tejo. 237 confirmed destroyed. Maybe 50 more went dark in the last day. Around the table sat the best minds humanity had. Captain Dongmin had arrived that morning to share his story about fighting the burning ones. His report had changed. Everything. Tell us again what happened when you used the reactor fire, said Dr. Yanju. Captain Dongmin pointed. to the scars on his uniform from radiation exposure. The creature touched our burning hull and pulled back like it was in pain. That was the first time anyone had hurt one of these things. Engineer Haiwan studied the technical reports from the UES Kimchi. Your fusion reactor was operating at 340% normal output. The plasma temperature reached 15 million degrees. That is as hot as the core of a star. And that hurt them? Asked Admiral Bo-Ra. More than hurt them, said Captain Dongmin. It scared them. They called us flame bearers and backed away. Dr. Yanju nodded. The ancient writings talked about flame bearers. The old race said only fire could fight the darkness. General Tejo looked at the display showing human technology. So our fusion reactors are weapons? Not just weapons, said Dr. Sangmi, who had been studying the ancient artifacts. Our entire civilization is based on controlled fire. Fusion reactors, plasma weapons, chemical rockets, even our cities use fire for power. While the other galactic races moved beyond fire, added Haiwan, they use gravity manipulation, biotechnology, pure energy control. They think fire is primitive. Admiral Bo-Ra smiled grimly. But the burning ones can eat their advanced technology. They cannot eat our primitive fire. The meeting was interrupted when Communications Officer Park Junho burst into the room. Admiral, we are getting a priority message from the Galactic Council. The holographic display changed to show Council Speaker Nal Thex, the Lumenti representative. The being of pure energy looked desperate. Admiral Bo-Ra, we formally request immediate assistance from Earth. The entities you call Burning Ones have destroyed 12 more systems in the last 6 hours. Our most powerful fleets cannot slow them down. Bo-Ra looked around the room. What do you need from us? Everything. Your ships, your weapons, your knowledge. We are willing to grant Earth full council membership and technology sharing agreements. The irony was not lost on anyone in the room. 6 months ago, these same aliens had laughed at human ships. Now they were begging for help. We will consider your request, Bo-Ra replied. But we will do this our way. When the transmission ended, General Tejo turned to the group. What is our way? Captain Sung-Ho, who commanded the research fleet, had an idea. We modify our ships to be flying furnaces. Instead of trying to contain the fusion fire, we let it burn on the outside. That sounds incredibly dangerous, said Admiral Bo-Ra. Fighting these things is incredibly dangerous, Seung-Ho replied. But if fire is our weapon, we need to use as much of it as possible. Engineer Haiwan was already drawing plans on her tablet. We could reroute the plasma conduits through the hull armor. Instead of shooting plasma bolts, we make the entire ship into a plasma weapon. The crew would be cooked by radiation, objected Dr. Sangmi. Not if we improve our shielding. We have been working on new radiation barriers. If we combine them with magnetic plasma control, we could create ships that burn on the outside but stay safe on the inside. Admiral Bo-Ra made the decision. Do it. How long do you need? Give me 2 weeks to modify the first ship, said Haiwan. Captain Jinwoo's UES Bulgogi is already battle-tested. We can use it as our prototype. While the engineers worked, Dr. Yanju made another discovery in the ancient ruins. She found a room full of star charts showing the galaxy as it was millions of years ago. Hyunsu, look at this, she called to her partner. These charts show the paths the Burning Ones took during their last visit. They have been here before? Every few million years. They come from outside the galaxy, eat all the advanced civilizations, then go back to wherever they came from. What stopped them last time? Yeonju pointed to symbols on the chart. The Flamebearers did, but at a terrible cost. They had to burn entire star systems to create enough fire to drive the Burning Ones away. And then the Flamebearers disappeared. Maybe they used up all their resources fighting. Maybe they destroyed themselves to save everyone else. Hyun-Soo felt cold. Are we going to have to do the same thing? I hope not, but we might be the only ones who can. 2 weeks later, Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the UES Bulgogi Mark II. His ship looked completely different. The hull was covered in special armor that could channel plasma across its surface. New magnetic field generators ran throughout the ship. Most importantly, the fusion reactor had been rebuilt to run much hotter than normal. Engineer So Young, are all systems ready? He asked. Yes, Captain. But I want to say again that this is untested technology. We could blow up. Or we could save the galaxy, Jinwoo replied. Start the ignition sequence. So Young activated the new systems. Plasma began flowing through the hull armor. In seconds, the entire ship was covered in nuclear fire. The UES Bulgogi looked like a flying star. How do you feel? asked Admiral Bora over the communication system. Like we are sitting inside the sun, Jinwoo replied. But the radiation shielding is working. We are safe. Good. Now let us see if you can fight. They did not have to wait long for a test. Long-range sensors detected 3 burning ones moving toward the Proxima Centauri system. The UES Bulgogi raced to intercept them. When the dark entities saw the burning human ship approaching, they paused. Jinwoo could feel their confusion through the ship's sensors. They remember us, said So-young. They know what fire can do. Then let us remind them, Jinwoo said. Take us right at them. The UES Bulgogi plunged into the group of burning ones like a comet. Where the ship's fire touched the dark creatures, they recoiled in obvious pain, but more importantly, they began to retreat. Captain, said Navigation Officer Young-ho, they are pulling back toward the galaxy's edge. Confirmed, added So-young. The fire is not just hurting them. It is driving them away. The battle lasted only minutes. The 3 burning ones fled back into deep space rather than face the burning human ship. Jinwoo opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Bora, this is UES Bulgogi. The fireship design works. We drove them off without taking any damage. Excellent work, Captain. Return to base. We have a lot more ships to modify. As the UES Bulgogi headed home, its hull still burning with nuclear fire, Jinwoo thought about what this meant. Humanity had found their purpose in the galaxy. They were the flame bearers, the ones who could fight the darkness. The aliens had laughed at their primitive technology. But now that primitive technology was the only thing standing between civilization and complete destruction. So-young, he said. How many ships do we have that can be modified like this? Every ship in the human fleet, Captain. About 400 vessels. Then we better get started. Something tells me the burning ones are not going to give up easily. Outside the ship, nuclear fire continued to burn across the hull. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy had flame bearers again, and this time they were not going to disappear. Captain Dongmin had been in space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The UES Kimchi was patrolling the outer rim when they found the Kepler 186 system, or what was left of it. Captain, said Navigator Haiwan, the star is still there, but everything else is gone. Dongmin looked at the main screen. The star burned normally, but there were no planets around it. No asteroids, no moons, no space dust, just empty space where a solar system should be. How many people lived here? Asked Weapons Officer Su Jin. 3 billion on the main planet, Haiwan replied, plus mining stations and orbital cities. And now there is nothing. Su Jin ran scans with every sensor they had. Captain, I am not reading any debris. When something gets destroyed, there should be pieces left. But there is nothing. It is like everything just disappeared. Before Dongmin could respond, his communications officer spoke up. Captain, I am getting a distress signal. It is coming from the far side of the system. The signal was weak and full of static, but they could make out words in the Velthari language. This is Commander Wu Jin of the Crystal Fleet. Something is here. Something impossible. Our weapons have no effect. It is eating our ships. If anyone receives this message, stay away. Do not come here. Dongmin knew Wu Jin. The Velthari commander had been one of the loudest voices laughing at human technology. If he was calling for help, things were very bad. Set course for the signal, Dongmin ordered. Sir, Commander Wu Jin said to stay away, said Su Jin. He also saved my life once during a pirate attack. We are going. The UES Kimchi flew toward the signal at full speed. What they found when they arrived made everyone on the bridge gasp. Commander Wu Jin's battle fleet was there. 5 massive crystal ships, each one bigger than any human vessel. But they were not fighting. They were running. Chasing them was something that should not exist. It looked like a piece of space itself had come alive. It was huge and dark, with parts that seemed to be made of pure emptiness. Where it touched the crystal ships, the alien vessels simply melted away. Sujin, what are our sensors telling us? Dongmin asked. It is some kind of biomechanical entity, but it is not really alive and not really a machine. It is something else entirely. One of the Velthari ships tried to fight back. It fired gravity weapons that could crush planets. The dark thing just absorbed the energy and grew bigger. Captain, said Communications Officer Min Seok, Commander Wu Jin is trying to contact us. Wu Jin's face appeared on their screen. The proud Velthari commander looked terrified. His crystal skin was cracked with stress. Human ship, you must leave now. These things eat advanced technology. The more sophisticated your systems, the faster they consume you. What are they? Dongmin asked. We call them the burning ones, though they do not burn. They are hunger-given form. They have been moving through the galaxy, eating everything in their path. As they talked, another Velthari ship disappeared into the dark entity. It did not explode or break apart. It just stopped existing. Wu Jin, can you get your remaining ships out of there? No, they are too fast. They learn from what they eat. Every ship they consume makes them smarter and stronger. Sujin was studying her weapons panel. Captain, should I try to help? With what? If Velthari gravity weapons cannot hurt them, our plasma cannons will not do anything. But Sujin was thinking. She remembered the reports from Dr. Hyun-soo about the ancient weapons. She remembered how human technology was different from alien technology. Captain, what if we do not try to be fancy? What if we just use brute force? What do you mean? Our fusion reactors create nuclear fire. Real fire, not energy manipulation. What if I overload the reactor and channel the plasma directly through our hull? Dongmin stared at her. That would be suicide. The radiation alone would kill us. Maybe. But it might be the only way to hurt these things. On the screen, they watched as the dark entity caught another Velthari ship. Commander Wu Jin's vessel was the only one left. Do it, Dongmin ordered. Sujin's hands flew over her controls. She shut down all safety systems and began overloading the fusion reactor. Warning alarms screamed throughout the ship. All hands prepare for emergency plasma discharge, Dongmin announced over the ship's intercom. The UES Kimchi flew straight at the dark entity. As they got closer, the thing noticed them. Part of it reached out like a hungry tentacle. Now Sujin channeled the full power of their overloaded fusion reactor through the ship's hull. The UES Kimchi became a flying torch, covered in nuclear fire from nose to tail. When the dark entity touched their burning hull, something amazing happened. For the first time since the battle began, one of the creatures showed pain. It pulled back from their ship like it had been hurt. Did you see that? Shouted Navigator Haewon. It recoiled, said Sujin. The fire actually hurt it, but the victory was short. Their reactor was failing, and radiation was flooding the ship. They had maybe minutes before their life support failed. Wu Jin, get out of here, Dongmin ordered. Tell the galaxy what you saw. The last Velthari ship escaped just as more dark entities arrived. 3 of them surrounded the UES Kimchi. Captain, said Sujin, reactor containment is failing. If we do not shut down now, we will all die. Dongmin looked at the creatures surrounding them. They seemed confused by the fire covering his ship. They wanted to eat it, but the flames kept them back. How long can we maintain the fire? Maybe 10 more minutes. Then we have 10 minutes to figure out how to survive this. Min-seok was monitoring alien communications. Captain, I am picking up transmissions from these things. They are talking to each other. Can you understand them? Some of it. They are calling us the Flame Bearers. They sound afraid. That gave Dongmin an idea. Sujin, can you pulse the reactor? Make the fire bigger and smaller? Yes, but why? If they are afraid of fire, let us give them something to really fear. Sujin pulsed the reactor in a steady rhythm. The nuclear fire around their ship flared bright, then dim, then bright again. The dark entities backed away further. It is working, said Haewon. They do not want to get near us, but their reactor was dying. The fire was getting weaker with each pulse. Captain, said Sujin quietly, we have maybe 2 minutes left. Dongmin made a decision that would save his crew and change the war. Emergency jump to hyperspace. Right now. Sir, jumping to hyperspace while on fire could destroy us. Maybe. But staying here will definitely destroy us. The UES Kimchi jumped to hyperspace while still covered in nuclear flames. The ship shook like it was going to break apart, but it held together. When they dropped back to normal space near Earth, they were no longer on fire. But they had learned something incredibly important. Commander Wu Jin's final message reached them as they limped home. The primitives were right. Fire. They fear fire. Tell your people, only the flame bearers can fight them. As the UES Kimchi docked at Earth's main space station, Dongmin knew their lives had just changed forever. The galaxy was no longer laughing at human ships. Soon they would be begging for them. Dr. Hyun-soo wiped sweat from his face as he climbed down into the ancient ruins. The planet Kepler 442b was hot and dry, with red sand that got into everything. But what he found here was worth all the discomfort. The ruins were old, very old. much older than anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. The walls were made of black stone that seemed to drink in light. Strange symbols covered every surface. Dr. Yeonju, come look at this, he called to his partner. Dr. Yeonju was the best language expert in human space. She had spent 20 years learning alien languages. If anyone could read these symbols, it was her. She knelt down next to the wall and ran her fingers over the carved marks. This is incredible, Yeonsu. This writing is millions of years old, but I can understand parts of it. What does it say? Yeonju was quiet for a long time as she studied the symbols. Finally, she spoke in a whisper. It is a warning. It says, when the stars dim and the void hungers, only the flame-bearers shall stand. Flame-bearers? What does that mean? I do not know, but there is more. She moved to another section of wall. Here it talks about great darkness coming from the edge of space. It says the darkness eats light and matter and grows stronger. Hyunsu felt cold despite the hot air. Who wrote this? A race that died long before the galaxy had any other intelligent life. They were trying to warn someone. Far away in deep space, Captain Jinwoo was having his own strange day. His ship, the UES Bulgogi, was on patrol near the edge of known space. It was boring work. Nothing ever happened out here. Captain, called Engineer So Young from her station. I am picking up something weird. Jinwoo walked over to look at her screens. What kind of weird? Energy readings, big ones, but they are coming from empty space. Jinwoo looked at the star charts. There is nothing out there. No stars, no planets, nothing. That is what makes it weird, So Young said. The energy is moving this way. Jinwoo ordered his ship to get closer. What they found made no sense. Space itself seemed to be rippling like water. Huge waves of energy rolled through the darkness. Captain, said Communications Officer Taman, I am getting signals. Not from our people or the council races. What kind of signals? Mathematical sequences. Numbers. But arranged in patterns I have never seen. So Young studied the patterns on her computer. Her face went white. Captain, these look like targeting coordinates. Someone is picking out which star systems to attack. Jinwoo felt ice in his stomach. Send everything we have recorded back to Earth. Emergency priority. Back on Earth, General Taeho sat in a meeting room full of worried faces. Reports were coming in from all over the galaxy. Star systems were going dark. Not just the lights, everything. Stars, planets, space stations, ships, all gone. The Galactic Council says it is just equipment problems, said Admiral Bo-Ra. They think their long-range sensors are broken. What do our sensors say? Asked General Taeho. Our sensors work fine, said Dr. Sang-mi, the head of Earth's Science Division. Something is destroying entire solar systems, eating them completely. General Taeho looked at the map of the galaxy. Red dots showed where star systems had vanished. They formed a line moving in from the edge of space toward the center. How long until it reaches populated areas? He asked. 6 months, maybe less, Dr. Sang-mi replied. Meanwhile, Dr. Hyun-soo had found something new in the ruins. A chamber filled with weapons. But these were not normal weapons. They were made of metal that stayed warm to the touch. When he picked one up, it felt alive. Yeonju, look at this. The weapon was simple, a handle with a metal tube on top. But when Hyun-soo pressed a button, fire shot out of the end. Not normal fire. This was white-hot flame that could melt steel. How is it still working after millions of years? Yeonju asked. I do not know, but look at this. Hyun-soo pointed the weapon at a piece of alien metal they had brought for testing. The metal was supposed to be indestructible. Nothing in the galaxy could damage it. The flame from the ancient weapon melted it like butter. Yeonju ran back to the wall writings. She read more symbols, her hands shaking. Hyun-soo, this is not good. It says the darkness comes every few million years. It eats all the advanced civilizations. But it cannot eat fire. What do you mean? The old race that lived here, they called themselves the first flame-bearers. They used fire as their main technology. When the darkness came, only they could fight it. Hyun-soo looked at the weapon in his hands, and they left these for someone to find. No, Yeonju said quietly. They left them for us. That night, Captain Jinwoo sent another report to Earth. His ship was watching the edge of space when something huge moved past them. It was bigger than a moon, but it was not solid. It looked like living shadow with teeth. So Young, are you recording this? He whispered, yes, Captain. But our cameras can barely see it. The thing moved toward a nearby star system. Jinwoo watched in horror as the star itself began to dim. Then the planets around it simply vanished. Not destroyed, just gone as if they had never existed. "Get us out of here," Jinwoo ordered. "Best speed back to Earth." As the UES Bulgogi raced away, So Young looked at her instruments. "Captain, that thing is not alone." I count at least 12 more, all heading toward the center of the galaxy. Dr. Hyunsu's discovery reached Earth just as Jinwoo's report arrived. General Taeho called an emergency meeting of all human military and science leaders. "Let me understand this," he said. "Ancient aliens left warnings about something that eats civilizations. They also left weapons that use fire. And right now something is eating star systems and moving our way." "That is correct," said Dr. Sangmi. "And there is more. The ancient weapons only work for us." "What do you mean?" "We tried giving them to our alien friends on the council. The weapons will not turn on for them. Only for humans." Admiral Bora stood up. "Why us? Why can only humans use them?" Dr. Yanju had the answer. She had been working all night to translate more of the ancient writings. "Because we are the flame bearers. Every human ship, every human city, every human tool, they all use fire. Fusion reactors, plasma weapons, chemical rockets. We build everything around controlled fire." "The other races moved past fire," added Dr. Sangmi. "They use gravity control, biotechnology, pure energy. They think fire is primitive." General Taeho looked around the room. "But the ancient race thought fire was the most important thing in the universe." "Yes," said Dr. Yanju. "Because fire is chaos. Fire is destruction and creation at the same time. The things eating the galaxy, they can control order, but they cannot control chaos." Admiral Bora smiled for the first time in days. "So our primitive fusion reactors might actually be the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Against these things?" "Yes." Outside, human ships burned through space with their bright fusion engines. The galaxy had laughed at those flames. Soon those same flames might be the only thing standing between civilization and complete darkness. Captain Dae-hyun looked out at the massive space station before him. Nexus Prime was the biggest thing he had ever seen. The human ship UES Taekwondo looked like a tiny bug next to it. The station was home to the Galactic Council, where all the smart alien races made important decisions. "Captain, we are getting close," said his pilot, Lieutenant Subin. Her hands moved over the controls as she guided their ship toward the docking bay. Dae-hyun nodded. Today was important. Admiral Bora was meeting with the council to ask if humans could join. Earth had been trying to join for 5 years. Each time the aliens said no. The docking bay was huge. Ships from dozens of different worlds sat in neat rows. The Velthari ships looked like giant crystals that sparkled with their own light. The Corinth vessels were strange. Part metal, part living creature. They seemed to breathe and move on their own. The Lumenti ships were just balls of pure energy held in place by force fields. Then there were the human ships. They looked old and rough next to the alien vessels. Black metal hulls with big engines that burned bright blue flames. Dae-hyun felt embarrassed as alien workers pointed at their ship and laughed. Admiral Bora was waiting for them in the shuttle bay. She was a tough woman who had spent her whole life in space. Her uniform was clean and pressed, but her face showed worry. "Are you ready for this, Dae-hyun?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral. But I do not think they will listen." Bora sighed. "Maybe not. But we have to try." They walked through the station corridors. The walls were made of some kind of living metal that changed colors as they passed. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved around them. Some had too many arms. Others floated without touching the ground. A few were just clouds of gas in special suits. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in circles around a central platform. At the top sat the 3 most powerful races in the galaxy. The Velthari representative was a tall crystal being that rang like a bell when it moved. The Corinth speaker was half machine, half creature, with metal parts growing out of living flesh. The Lumenti counselor was just a ball of light that spoke through energy waves. Admiral Bora walked to the center platform. Her boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. Every alien eye in the room turned to look at her. "Honored Council," she began. "I come here today to ask again for Earth's membership in this great alliance." The Velthari crystal being made a sound like breaking glass. This meant it was laughing. "Admiral Bora, we have been through this before. Your species is too young. Your technology is too simple." Commander Wu Jin of the Velthari fleet stood up. He was tall and thin, with crystal parts growing from his skin. "Let me show you what I mean," he said. The chamber's walls became transparent. Outside, they could see space. Wu Jin touched a control on his arm. Suddenly, a huge asteroid began to move. It twisted and turned through space like it was dancing. The Velthari ships around it glowed with power as they controlled gravity itself. "This is real technology," Wu Jin said. "We can move planets if we want to. We can bend space and time." The aliens in the chamber clapped and cheered. Some made strange sounds that meant they were impressed. Then Wu Jin pointed at the human ships floating nearby. "Look at these metal boxes. They burn fuel like ancient campfires. They push themselves through space with explosions. This is not technology. This is barely better than throwing rocks." More laughter filled the chamber. Daehyun felt his face turn red with anger and shame. A Corinth representative stood next. Its bioship outside the station began to change shape. Parts of it grew new metal sections while other parts became flesh. A hole in the hull sealed itself in seconds. "Our ships heal themselves," the Corinth said through speakers in its throat. "They grow stronger after battle. They learn and adapt. Human ships? They break and stay broken. They are weak metal held together by hope and prayer." The laughter got louder. Daehyun saw Admiral Bora's hands shake with anger, but she kept her face calm. The Lumenti counselor spoke next. Its voice came from everywhere at once. "Energy is everything. We have learned to become energy. We can travel at the speed of light. We can live forever. Humans still use primitive fusion reactors. They still burn matter for power like ancient savages." Admiral Bora stepped forward. "We may be young, but we are strong. We have survived wars and disasters. We have built a peaceful world. We can help the galaxy." The Velthari crystal being made that breaking glass sound again. "Help, Admiral, your ships could not survive one battle with real military technology. You would be destroyed in minutes. Your weapons are too weak," said the Corinth. "Your armor is too thin. Your computers are too slow. Your entire civilization is barely out of the Stone Age," added the Lumenti. The vote was quick. Every alien raised their hand or tentacle or energy field to say no. Earth would not join the Galactic Council. Not today. Maybe not ever. Admiral Bora walked back to Daehyun with her head held high. She did not let the aliens see her pain. As they left the chamber, Daehyun heard two alien officers talking behind them. "Did you see those human ships?" One laughed. "They look like flying trash cans." "I heard they still use nuclear fusion," said the other. "Like cavemen rubbing sticks together to make fire. If there was ever a real war, they would not last one day." The walk back to their ship felt very long. Captain Minna was waiting for them at the docking bay. She had heard everything through the ship's communication system. "I am sorry, Admiral," Minna said quietly. Bora looked out at the alien ships around them, all so advanced, all so powerful, all so sure that humans were nothing special. "Maybe they are right," Bora said. "Maybe we are too primitive." But then she thought about Earth, about the billions of people who believed in her, about the human spirit that never gave up no matter how hard things got. "No," she said firmly. "We may be different, but different does not mean wrong. Someday they will see." As their ship pulled away from Nexus Prime, none of them knew that someday would come much sooner than anyone expected. And when it did, the galaxy would stop laughing at human ships. They would beg for their help instead.